Today I'm showing you how you can make the bass sound from Go Fuck Yourself by 2 Feet using Ableton and Serum, but obviously you can also do this in any other DAW. My name is mattflanc, let's get started. Alright, if you don't know this song, it is pretty famous and especially for its incredible bass line. Let's first take a listen to the bass I made and the bass in the original song, and then I'm going to show you step by step how I made it and how you can make it as well. This is the original song. And now I'm going to solo and unsolo to add my bass to the song. And now the bass by itself. As you can hear, I also sampled the kick from the original song and added it as well, but here it is without the kick. Alright, so let's take a look at how I made this. As you can see, the bass is in an instrument rack and I have two basses. One is the sub bass and one is the saw bass that plays the high and mid frequencies. So let's first take a look at the saw bass, which is the most important part of this bass. For this I used Serum, and behind Serum is a little EQ to eliminate some of the low end and to make space for the sub. Okay, so this is the Serum patch. If you know something about Serum, you can probably make it just by seeing this. There's no effects on it. I have a little bit of stuff going on in the matrix. You can copy this if you want to. And this is the global section. Okay, so this is the initial Serum preset. The first thing we want to do is change both waveforms to a saw wave. I like to just use the basic shapes and change it to a saw wave. Then we have one saw wave, which is pitched up 1 octave. And the high one is actually a little bit detuned, so we can add 2 voices and detune it just a tiny bit. We're actually going to put this at 0. And then the blend we can leave as this. So the next thing we adjust is the phase of the basses to make it exactly identical. So the phase of the first saw wave is set to 73. The phase of the second saw wave is set to 100. Okay, so this is what we have right now. So now you can hear there is way too much high end, so we're going to use a filter for this. Let's turn on the filter. We are going to use the default filter for this and enable A, B, and the sub. We are going to set the frequency to 2101. And then the resonance we are going to set to 11%. And then the last thing we want to do with the filter is actually turn the FET up a little bit to 26%. Now let's see what it sounds like. Without. You can immediately hear the difference. So the next thing we hear is that the bass in this original song actually has a little bit of a tag to it. First you hear the kick and then the bass starts coming in. There is 2 possible ways this could have been done. First, they maybe used sidechain, but in this case, since I'm not going to use other tracks, I'm just going to turn up the attack of this bass. If you want to use it in your own song and you want to use sidechain instead, that's perfectly fine. We are going to set the attack to 436 milliseconds and drag this down just a tiny bit so we have a little bit of a slope. Alright, now to finalize the sound, we are going to do a couple more things. So let's listen one more time. So to make it a little bit more interesting, we are going to add a little bit of FM. We are going to turn on the sub oscillator, make this 1 octave higher, and we are going to set the volume to 27%. And then we are going to route oscillator B to get FM from the sub oscillator. And this FM we want to turn up to 21%. Then we need to adjust the volume of both oscillator A and B. Oscillator A will be at 51% volume, and oscillator B will be at 62% volume, just so the low frequencies are a little louder than the high frequencies. When we listen to the song, we can hear there is a little bit of an LFO controlling the pitch of the bass. Take a listen. It is very, very subtle, but it really makes the sound. So we are going to set LFO 1 to a sine wave, just like this. Change the rate to 1/8. And depending on how present you want the wobbling to be, you are going to adjust the rise. I'm going to set it to 4 bars to make it really subtle. And then we want to route LFO 1 to the fine tune of oscillator A and B. So let's do that by dragging it to the fine tune, just like this. And we are going to adjust this in the matrix section. So what you want to do is make sure this arrow is pointing both ways. Have the volume all the way up right here. And then the amount is going to be 2 to make it very subtle. And the last thing we want to do on the oscillators is turn off the randomness. Because we adjusted the phase in the beginning, and if you don't turn this off, this phase knob is not going to do anything because it's just going to pick a random position. And now we have the high end of this bass. Alright, so now it is time to add the sub oscillator. We are going to do this by opening our track, selecting Serum, and pressing Ctrl G to create an instrument track. And then we open this menu, right click, create chain, and I'm going to call this sub. And in here we want to open another Serum patch. The first thing we want to do is set our oscillator. I'm going to use oscillator B for this. We are going to set it to basic shapes and select the square wave. You can also use oscillator 1, it doesn't really matter. And the only thing we want to adjust on this oscillator is the volume, which is going to be set to 21.
21.
The next thing is we want to turn on the sub oscillator, leave it at a sine wave, and put the volume at 100%. Then we want to change envelope 1 and set the attack to 11 to eliminate a click when the sub is playing. So then the last thing we want to do on the sub in Serum itself is add some distortion and a compressor. So first let's go over the distortion. We want to change it to diode 2. Set it to post. Change this value to 73. And we leave this value at 1.9. Then the drive we are going to turn down to 10% and leave the mix at 100%. Then for the compressor, we are going to set threshold to -26.6. We are going to leave the ratio at 4:1. Then we are going to change the attack to 164. So that's it for the sub in Serum. This is what it should sound like. Together with the high frequencies. So we can close Serum now. Don't forget to save the preset of the sub. And we are going to add some more effects behind the sub to make it punch even more. So the first thing I'm going to add is an EQ8. Put it behind the sub. We're going to turn on band 1 and 8. Change this to this one. And we are going to turn down band 8 to 188 Hz. Just like that. But let's turn up the Q to 0.93. Just like this. And then band 1 we are going to set to 20 Hz. Okay, so then we are going to add a saturator to the sub. We're going to change this to medium curve. Change the bass to about -16. And leave the frequency, width and depth as they are. And then the last thing for this sound is we are going to add a utility to make the sub bass mono. And just like that. Okay, so then there is 2 more steps left, which is add an EQ to the saw bass. So let's call this saw. And we are going to make this a high pass frequency filter, and let's change it to about 80 Hz, just like this. And then we are going to turn down the sub by -1.5 dBs. And now we have the bass of Go Fuck Yourself by 2 Feet. If this was helpful, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss a video. Thank you guys for watching. My name is mattflanc. Peace out.